Okay, let's warm up. See if we can get some questions a little bit later today than normal, so we might get a different part of the world on, maybe. Let's see. So I've done no handstands, no calisthenics, no training of any sorts today so far. So I'm going to warm up, answer any questions as we go. I've got no plans for training today. I'll just do a bit of everything. See how the first handstand of the day feels. Just been to the beach for 2 hours with the kids, digging and playing. So that's it for exercise today. Okay. So ask away if you jump on. Any questions, let me know straight away before we get inundated. Let's warm up. Calves. I just want to get the calves nice and happy. Some forward folds. So include calves in the hamstring stretching. If you're not up to doing this level, so forward fold, obviously don't start with the bounces. Get yourself comfortable there. But if you're not up to that one, like having a foot elevated position and just working the hamstring position there is really good to make sure that you've got that dorsiflexion, so bringing the foot up and you're not taking the foot in the opposite direction. So I do that daily, or do some sort of stretch like this. Involves the calves and the hamstrings. I've had to really fight for the hamstring flexibility, so it's something that I want to maintain. Makes everything much easier. Press handstands. Obviously much easier the deeper you can get in your forward fold. Okay, let's have a look. So nowadays I'm able to balance 5 to 10 seconds, but I sometimes get forced to walk on handstand to balance. How do I stop that? You could work close to the wall. One of the best ways to do it is to give yourself a restriction. So even if you're freestanding, if you go close to the wall, so if I kick up on balance, really close, and obviously I'm not going to walk in the handstand here. The issue with doing it this close to the wall is that the temptation is to touch the wall. The other way to do it is to raise the hands up on something. And then again, it's going to take away the temptation to walk. You just obviously have to be careful with it. Something like this type of setup is good, not too high, so you're not going to hurt yourself. But if you handstand on something like this, then straight away you've restricted yourself. And if you do feel like you're going to walk, you're more going to twist out of it, and you're going to have to come out of the handstand. So walking is like any other habit. It's very common that people that do gymnastics or lots of back bends who are super mobile will always go over to a back bridge, and they choose to go to a back bridge instead of fighting for the handstand. The walking in the handstand is exactly the same thing. So you've got to try and get rid of the habit early, because it'll keep coming back all the time. Thanks, Steve. I could hold a 20 to 30 second handstand, but the press is something I've been struggling to get. Anything in particular on the... Oh, I've started reading 2 messages at the same time then. Yeah, great to know the you get a lot of help from the videos. 2 to 3 most important drills to be able to press handstand. So you want to just do something for the eccentric. So you're getting the full pathway. So eccentric is normally the easiest way to get a full pathway for the press handstand. You don't want to have any gaps. And then do something for the concentric as well. So normally if you just had said only do 2 exercises, that would be the 2 I would do. So I would do an eccentric of some sort. So if you've got a decent handstand, so you said you've got 20 to 30 seconds. So from this position, see if you've got a straddle. If you don't have a straddle, we need to start to work on that. And then from that, going down as slow as possible till your toes touch the floor, like learning to do that where there's not any gaps. If you're dropping through that movement, we want to do exactly the same, but up against the wall, and then come down through the eccentric there. Same thing. And then I would combine your eccentric with a partial range. So most people have to start pretty high with that. So high up on the boxes. And because you're doing the full range eccentric, it doesn't matter too much that you're only doing a partial range, part of the range on the press. So then doing the same thing from there, coming up to your handstand. If you've got that 20 to 30 second hold, you'll probably be able to find a height where you can catch the handstand at the top. You probably need to start on double this height to start with, and then just slowly decrease the height. So I work those two things. Obviously, keep working the handstand balance, jumps, tuck handstands, straddle handstands from a balance point of view, and then partial range and the eccentrics. They'd be the ones I would go for. I could do a headstand press to handstand and a 10-second balance. Should I work on handstand push up or work on balance? I'd do both. So I'd always work whatever skill you're doing. It's like Steve's question with the press handstand. I would work your handstand balance and continually work your press handstand, never stop that, but also then work the strength skills beside that in tandem with it. So doing the press work or the handstand push-ups, ideally a bit of both, because they all feed each other. So if you're doing handstand push-up work and you're doing balance work, I would do... I've just realized I've got my wrong microphone in. I take it you can hear me, guys, all right? Let me see if I swap this over. I'm wearing the receiver on my hat and not the other way around. That should be better now. My audio should be better. Hopefully that's working. Just let me know if you can't hear me. Yeah, so I would work handstand balance and handstand push-up, handstand press and handstand balance, and combine the two. Obviously, a lot of the exercises overlap. So something like an eccentric of both the press and the handstand push-up. Like if I do a super slow eccentric press like I just demoed, or a super slow handstand push-up, you're understanding the balance from this position. Obviously, there's your standard handstand balance hold. But then when I come down, understanding the balance when you're in this position or this position or that position, exactly the same on the way back up is really important. So you're hitting both at the same time, but I would definitely put work into doing the balance, progress that, keep going with that, work the tuck handstands, work the straddle handstands, the straight handstands, and then also work in the strength work. Tips to hold much consistent, so more consistent and more longer straddle planche. So I'm assuming you mean to hold a more consistent handstand and then a longer straddle planche. So two questions. So with the handstand, you just need to increase your balance window. So the ability to go forwards and backwards in the handstand. So if you think about it on your feet, you want to increase to get a longer hold. We need to be able to go this way and also this way. And if I can do that, the bigger that window is, the more I can play with that balance. So if I'm on my straight handstand, if I can go this way and still hold balance, and I can go this way, so over onto my fingers and still hold balance and never fall down, that's just going to make the balance much, much stronger. And I've got way more room for error. And that just means you're going to settle in the middle with a lot less energy. So working your heel pulls, so this way to your handstand. So there's your overbalance. Get very good at those, even if you've already got a freestyle handstand. And then the same this way around for your underbalance. So make sure that's really good as well. Then you're going to have a big balance window. In terms of straddle planche, making sure that you've got a very, very strong tuck planche position. So if you want a strong straddle planche, I recommend you be up to 20, 30 second hold time comfortably in a tuck planche. And then add in the straddle planche. A lot of people that go to straddle planche or any of the progressions for the calisthenics or the handstands is normally we've still got some work to do on those lower progressions. It's totally normal to want to go to that next level, but just make sure that the other one is underlying and the technique on there. So when you go into your tuck planche, that should be like perfect. So if I do a tuck planche now, I know I can hold a decent tuck planche with good protraction, good hold time. So if you can do that, then layering a straddle planche on top is going to be way more easier. And then just remember also with the straddle planche work that there's different degrees of straddle planche. So everyone would like to have fully open hip straddle planche, so a straight body, no pike in the hips, and the butt to be in line with the shoulders and the hands, shoulder and the feet. In reality, most people's straddle position needs to be a little bit closed in the hip or shortened in some way. So it might be a bit froggy. So you might have your legs bent slightly. So think that you need to train that between the advanced tuck and the straddle. You can't just go from advanced tuck and expect to get straddle, because the difference between the two is a number of progressions. Amazing work on the progression. Awesome. Is the hollow body hold good to get straight handstand? Yeah, the hollow, like, it's a good movement. The trouble is with any of the floor line drills, they're all fantastic, but they're not a handstand. So think to yourself that when the best drill is the closest to the real thing that you're aiming for. So if you're aiming for a dead straight handstand, then we want to go into a check that you've got the mobility to get there, so the overhead mobility and the hip mobility to stack and get everything there. But ideally, I'd be working chest to wall holds instead of hollow body holds as soon as you can. But if you can't hold a chest to wall handstand with a really good technique for a matter of time, then you might need to do a hollow body hold as well. But I wouldn't stop doing chest to wall handstands and do hollow bodies holds unless that's the case. So I would prefer people do chest to wall. So making sure that this position is super switched on and has a really clean line. So I practice your hollow body position there, but it's in the handstand, not on the floor. And then over time, look at how you get from the not so good handstand line. So if your handstand line looks like this, if you have the mobility, you should just be able to push. So week to week, get a little bit taller, and then every session you're going to start to get taller and taller until you get a cleaner handstand line, just because you're extending up in the position. So as best you can, I would do that one over the others as long as you can hold for 30 seconds plus. So there's a time and a place for the body line drills, but just make sure you're not doing those overdoing your balance work. Can I do the iron cross? No chance at all. Never trained any real gymnastic skills on the rings. I can do like basic, well, a gymnast would call basic stuff, like ring forward rolls, muscle ups, L-sit to shoulder stand, real basic stuff on the rings for a gymnast. And I don't like training iron cross as well. I wouldn't like program it for anyone because I don't know how to train it. And I also don't think the risk reward is there in terms of risk of injury. Awesome. You can hear me okay. Cool. Hello to you from Vietnam. Another one for me. I can do a handstand to crow, super slow eccentric, awesome, with full control and kind of effortless at this point. Going up, however, is another story entirely. I just cannot lift my elbows, however hard I try, and tips to build the required strength to crow to handstand. Look, if you can do a super slow eccentric on handstand to crow, you can go up. You've just got to use a little bit of momentum at the moment and get the overbalance to help you, and also to use a little bit of kick out of the legs and the hips. So let me have a drink of coffee. That helps. So if you can go from a handstand position down nice and slowly with control, and then finish in that position. See how my hips have gone down, now my shoulders come up. So shoulders went down and then hips went back up. So I'm using this to come down, I'm doing that, and then when I go back up, I do that. So if you can do that correctly, you can fire yourself up. And in a lot of ways, it takes less energy to go up than it comes down. The issue that becomes when someone tries to do this and tries to pick their hip up from there, It's so hard. But if I do that and take the head and shoulders down and the hips up and stay slightly overbalanced, it pulls me out of the position. So a lot of the time, to get the confidence to do that, if you turn around back to wall, you can then have the confidence to go up because you're not going to feel like you're going to fall on your head so much. Also working things like L-sit to shoulder stand, because that's that same connection. So L-sit through to shoulder stand, it's that same seesaw type movement. So using that to understand that momentum and how it helps you to kick you up. That plus the slow eccentrics, obviously pike push-ups, handstand push-up drills, they're going to help to build more and more strength. But if you can do super slow eccentric, you should be able to go back up with that type of technique. I would say, well, I'm working on 90-degree handstand push-up and do 1 reps with straddle. I've got a question. How many can you do? What 90 is? Do you mean how many 90-degree handstand push-ups I can do? In a straight position, my best I think is 3 in a row. But I do arch. Like I can get one like pretty clean for 90 degrees, especially with the hands slightly raised. If you raise the hands slightly, you can dip the head and shoulders down and go back up again. I think I've done a triple. I can normally get doubles, especially if I let my body go a bit arched. Where should I keep my balance on my palm or my fingers, and how can I improve my handstand timing after 10 seconds? So that's that balance window again. So using the heel pulls and the toe pulls to make your balance window bigger and bigger, and then you can go in the middle there. So I prefer to keep everything slightly back towards underbalance. So I prefer is that if you go overbalance, so think when you're on your feet as well. So you don't stand like this. This uses loads of energy, and I'm always on the edge of falling if I'm like that. So how I'm loading through my toes, exactly the same in a handstand. I don't want to be loading through my fingers in that position. I want to be pushing through my palms more. So I haven't got much weight in my fingers in that position because I'm setting myself slightly backwards towards underbalance, because you have a lot more room for error on your underbalance than you do for your overbalance. So I'd be sitting it back slightly. You definitely don't want to be like over the front towards overbalance, because you'll just fall out. Is there a hand positioning for handstand? Yeah, so normally when you're starting out, you'll be a little bit wider. A lot of that will be due to mobility. So if I can put my arms together like this and have my biceps right by my ears, my hands can go pretty close. But most people's reality, if they try and put their hands like that, is this is going to happen. So their elbows are going to bend because they don't have the mobility in their back and their hips to put their hands above their head. So normally we're like this. When we try and take arms above our head, this happens, which means our arms come apart. So most people, when they're starting handstands, will go pretty wide with their hands. And then over time, you come slower, closer together. The other thing to think about is when you're doing strength. So when I'm doing a strength movement, so if I do a handstand push up, so you can see my hands. If I do a handstand push up here, my hands are now slightly externally rotated and they're a little bit wider than I would normally go for my balance. So that's where I'd be. But if I was going to do like a balance drill, I'd be more like here, especially if I'm going to go into a one-arm handstand from there. So I don't have to go far to get into a one-arm handstand there. So normally the balance work, I'm coming closer. My strength work, I go wider, presses, handstand push-ups, planches. And then if I'm doing a mixture of both, I'll be somewhere in the middle. But a beginner will normally be wider and then slowly bring their hands in closer as your mobility and your balance improves. I keep falling forward doing kick up to handstand. So yeah, with the kick up, it's normally the shoulder position, the focal position, the base that's inconsistent with people when they're learning. So what that means is when I kick up to handstand, when I press, when I jump to handstand, whatever it is, I need to make sure that the base stays the same. So if I put my shoulders on top of my hands and then look down somewhere between my index fingers, pick that focal point. So notice now when I kick up, so make sure I don't kick the wall. So when I kick up there, my shoulder starts on my hands and my focal point stays exactly the same. That's exactly the same with a kick. That's exactly the same with a jump. That's exactly the same with a press. Now with a press, my shoulders do go forwards a little bit more, but they come back on top there and back down again. So that stays exactly the same. When people are learning, they'll tend to do this, or they'll throw their head around, and that normally makes you go overbalanced, underbalanced, and just be very, very inconsistent in your entries. So solidifying that base, making sure it's super strong, then everything else should be easier to stack on top. Let me have another drink. I'll take my microphone off so it's not gurgling down the mic. Does strength training like holding a wall hold for 90 seconds automatically also help with balance? Or do you need to train both? Yeah, so most people when they start, or actually everyone, needs to work conditioning and balance work, and ideally some strength work as well. So I'd look at them at 3 different things. So conditioning, so building time against the wall. That's going to build strength in the position, but it's really about over time. So if you can't hold 20 seconds against the wall, it will be strength and conditioning to start with that you need to work on. Once you can get up to like 45, 60 seconds against the wall, chest to wall, then I would definitely split apart and have a lot of balance work, reps and sets. So doing the overbalance drills, the underbalance drills against the wall, on and off. And then once you get a bit better, you do that freestanding, but you also keep working the conditioning. So you can comfortably do 60, 90. I don't normally take people above 2 minutes in a freestanding handstand. I don't think there's that much benefit in going over 2 minutes. I'd rather work on other skills, and it's also really boring to go over 2 minutes. But I would make sure that people can comfortably hold 60 to 90 seconds freestanding. And then once they can do that, I wouldn't worry about conditioning the holds. I would just make sure that part of their warm-up just does some time in a handstand. But yes, I would do them separately. They will feed off each other, but handstand balance, handstand strength, and handstand conditioning separate. Hi, Paul. I moved over to Perth from the East 2 years ago. Awesome. I find that there aren't many calisthenics schools over here. Do you conduct workshops by any chance? I do occasional workshops in Perth. Perth has probably the biggest calisthenics handstand community that I know of in the world. So it's probably one of the best places to train this style. If you're close to the city, Inspired Movement, check out that there. I'm there on a Saturday. I don't normally teach classes or workshops. I just do one-on-ones there on a Saturday. But see Sam there. He's got an awesome setup, great classes, the best coaches in Perth as well. And the same for Movement Co. That's another one that's in Osborne Park. So I would check both of those out. Ninja Academy has a few coaches there as well. A lot of the coaches go between those gyms. But it depends where you are in Perth, but there's some really good options. Cool. Thanks, Steve. Let me know how you go with that. Is wide hand position easier for handstand push-up? Yeah, wide and external rotation. So I tend to go for handstand push-ups. I go out a little bit wider and there, not super wide. They're obviously super wide is like a bench press. If I go super wide, the range of motion is smaller, but it's harder to control because you want the shoulders to come forwards in a handstand push-up as well. If you go super wide, it's hard to get that forward movement, to get the forward and backwards. So there's like a sweet spot that's just slightly wider than the shoulders for most people, but definitely some external rotation. Can you make some videos on career advice as a calisthenics athlete or a trainee and share your experience? Yeah, look, in terms of learning this stuff, the best time is
to start teaching is as soon as possible, because you learn so much as you're going through the levels. It's so much easier to take people along with you as you go, obviously letting them know that you're learning the stuff as well. But that's the best way. That's what I done, is that I was already, I'd been a personal trainer for 15, 20 years, and then got into calisthenics and this started training, and my clients started to want to follow me and do the same thing. So I just started to coach it, then started to do classes, and I was probably at a level where I probably wasn't good enough to teach some of the stuff yet, but then I learned so much by doing that. So just finding people that are keen to learn, and then just take them along for the ride with you. And then as you get better, you start to learn how to coach the skills as well. Because the hardest thing is with all of these skills is knowing all the progressions for all the different levels. Because you might have someone who's a lower level than you on one of the skills, or has a different body type, whether they're heavier or lighter, or a different limb length, or someone who's super flexible and you might be strong and tight. So I come from a strength background with very limited range of motion. Where you start training someone who's hypermobile but not strong, then you have to work out how to train that person. So, but you learn from experience, and then also just not don't tell people that you know everything, and put your hand up when you don't know how to do something, and work through it and resolve it with people. Should we go for pancake first to unlock the press to handstand, or make it easier? Yeah, like pancake's going to make things much, much easier. So is a deep forward fold. But I would work at the same time. So while you're doing your handstand balance, while you're doing your press work, while you're doing your handstand push-up work, also be doing lots and lots of mobility. And then things are going to get easier from a mobility point of view, but you're also going to get stronger and have better balance. And then just they all come together and make it much, much easier. Yeah, I would, and so he's also going for a hard skill like planche, and it will make a lot of other skills easier. So there's a few key skills that make things much, much easier. So if you can get a tuck planche, strong pike push-ups, that type of thing, you're gonna build a lot of scapular strength, shoulder strength, upper back strength. That's going to help you with presses, with handstand balance. It just makes things so much easier if you've got some conditioning there. So working single skills that are like big ones that cover lots of things. Do skin the cats, something like that covers multiple different muscles at the same time, but they carry over so well. And that's why, going back to the iron cross question, I don't see that as a great exercise because it doesn't feed lots of other exercises. But something like a skin the cat or a planche, you get to a tuck planche level, suddenly you can do crow to handstand, you can do tuck press to handstand, you can do lots of things because of the tuck planche. So finding some key skills to work on that unlock other things is really important. I got a gymnastics mat to try to help give confidence in toe pulls. Will arrive tomorrow. I just woke up 4:24 a.m. Awesome. Good morning. And your mind, in terms of a lot of the calisthenics skills, will stop you doing a lot of things. So making your body feel safe is really, really important. So whether that's having someone spot you or having a mat or something like that can be like massive in terms of your development, even though you might not actually need it. Just your head knowing it's there can make a massive difference. Okay, what does a good underbalance, overbalance workout session look like? So when you get up to a certain level, so we want to be able to do heel pulls. So pull the heels from the wall. So I need to kick up, I need to push up tall, and then I need to push through the fingers till my heels come off the wall, and then I need to go back again. So the beginner would do repetitions of that, just learn to pull from the wall and then go back. Once you can do repetitions, you can do a hold. So I push, hold, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then go back to the wall again. And obviously you can keep going in terms of time. So you can do repetitions and you can do hold time. Once you get to a certain level, I would do both of those things. So I warm up with repetitions, and then I would try and do the pull off the wall and hold for time, accumulate 20, 30 seconds in the freestanding handstand, and then turn around and do exactly the same thing. Now, most people will develop the back to wall version much easier, the overbalance. The underbalance takes longer, but is more important. So just give this one time, build the repetitions here,
Once you can do the repetitions, exactly the same thing, add in the hold time as well. So I would do 1, 2, 3 sets, whatever it is, of the repetitions. Once you get to a level where you can also do a hold, then I'd add the hold in. So I would do, say, 3 sets of 5 repetitions of the heel pulls, turn around, 3 sets of 5 repetitions of the toe pulls, have a rest, and then do the same with the holds. So go into a hold, accumulate 20, 30 seconds. But obviously that depends on your level in terms of how you program it from a conditioning point of view and an ability point of view, and then what you put with it. So normally you'd put stretching with those to break them up so you can have a rest. But that way you're increasing your window of balance for your overbalance and your underbalance. And then just increase the volume with more and more time being in the freestanding holds. And then once you get to the level where you can do freestanding in the middle of the room for like 10 seconds plus, then you could do back to wall, chest to wall, freestanding as a circuit and do all 3 of those. And there's lots of different ways to put them together, but that's normally how I would put something like that. What frequency do you recommend training calisthenics skills, strength, and mobility? If you're training handstand balance, I would do that a lot. So I'd rather you do shorter, smaller sessions more frequently. So even up to like 6 times a week, 5 or 6 times a week, or even every day, just do a short handstand balance session. For the strength work, 2 to 4 sessions per week on each element. So it depends on how you split your training. But if you were to talk about skills, I would train handstand push-ups 2 to 4 times per week. So if you're new to it, twice. If you're more experienced in it, up to 4 times a week. And then you could alternate a handstand push-up session, and then on the following day you could do a press session or a planche session. So you're doing bent arm strength, straight arm strength, and then handstand balance in and around that as well. If you're doing the handstand balance, I'd also combine the mobility with that, because most people need the mobility and the handstands quite frequently to get results. When you first start, you can do 1 session a week and you'll get some results for a while, but that will stop quite quickly. And then I would increase it dramatically after that, as long as your body's conditioned and can handle the intensity and the volume. It just gets a bit tricky when you're doing multiple skills at the same time, because you'll get like wrists and forearms and elbows and things that don't like you. So you have to try and work out the best way of juggling that. Unfortunately, English is my only language, so and this doesn't have a translator on it. When should I squeeze everything before doing kicking up, or when on the handstand position? It depends. So squeezing everything is dependent on how much energy you're putting into it, how much you need to squeeze. So if you do it on your feet, so if I stand in this position, so if I got up out of a chair and stood up like this, I'm not squeezing anything. But if I get up out of the chair and then lean forwards like this, now I'm squeezing everything to stop myself falling. The same as if I go this way, now I'm having to squeeze my core. I've got a good connection between my shoulders and my knees, and especially down to my feet then to pull me back. So that's when I have to work harder. So it's dependent on where in the balance you are. If you're on the edge of your balance, you're going to have to really work. If you're in the center of your balance, you can rest. So it's dependent on the person. Now, when we're learning, we need to kick to the wall. You need to think about things like pushing through your shoulders, making the upper body really strong. So you've got a strong base. So if my hand's on the floor, I'm thinking more about pushing. And then when I kick up, I'm going to try and hit the middle of my balance window. When I'm out, I'm going to have to tense everything more to pull back. But I think more about just reaching up to the sky as you kick up to elevate everything, as opposed to flexing everything. Flexing everything normally creates sideways movement. So it's a hard one to explain, but just if you go through the drills, set up correctly, get a strong base, everything should stack and make sense as you go. Is there a front to wall toe pull alternative? I find climbing up hurts a bit. Yeah, so you can do the toe pull type movement back to wall. It's just harder to do it in terms of coordinate the movement. So I can practice coming past my handstand, take my feet past. So now see how my shoulders have come forwards. So now I'm in an underbalanced toe pull position, and I can pull back to the wall again. So you can practice that by going past the handstand, shoulders forwards, and then coming like that. It's just much harder to do it, but I'm doing the same technique. So when my feet go past the handstand, my shoulders come forwards, I pull myself back. So I do that movement, which is the underbalance. So it's tricky to do it that way, but you can do it that way. But I'd recommend that you do build the conditioning, build the strength to do it the other way around, but just give your body time to adjust and get used to it. Hey, Paul, what happens when you focus on 2 to 3 skills, handstand, planche, handstand push up, an example, over a period of time? Do you lose the other skills? Yes and no. It depends on what the skill is and then how you combine everything. So like I don't actively train everything. Like I'm not actively training my one arm handstand at the moment. I'll do occasional sessions, but I visit the one arm handstand nearly every day. So I'll just do a couple of reps of it just to make sure it's still there. The same with like pull-in strength. I don't do that much pull-in anymore, but I like to make sure that I can still do an eccentric one arm chin. And I'll check in on those things every so often. And if they start to drop off, I'll increase the sessions a little bit more to make sure I get it back to the level I'm happy with. Then you need to be realistic. Like I'm not going to hold on to a one arm chin if I'm not training pull-ups. So that's backed off, but I'm happier going with a level of doing eccentric one arm chins as a minimum. And then like my biceps hurt like hell when I do them. So I need to be careful with that as well, the intensity, even though you can still do something. But I would visit things as much as you can. It helps because I coach. Like today, I'm just jumping up this. I'm not counting this as a proper training session, but I'm demoing multiple skills. And I do for that throughout the day. So if an online client needs a demo video, I'll jump in the garage and I'll film something. Or if I'm teaching a class or a PT client, I'll jump up and I'll over demo. So in my hand, I only teach one handstand class now because I've backed off a lot. But the one handstand that I teach on a Wednesday night, I join in on everything. So I demonstrate every skill we're doing. And if I'm not demoing or I ask someone else to demo it, I'll jump up while the class is doing it and join in just to make sure that I can still do the thing and keep everything on tap ready to go. So as best you can, you need to try and do that while you're training the other skills. Luckily, a lot of things hang around because they're they feed off each other. I can do the heel pull, but I can't go back to wall. I fall backwards. I think you mean you can't go the other way. So you can do the heel pull, so you can kick up to the wall and you can pull off, but you can't go chest to wall because then you'll do overbalance. Yeah, that comes with time. So if you can get someone to spot you, so just go up chest to wall and get someone to take their hands with you as you go through the movement, then you'll feel more confident and be able to play with that. But it's normally that is the stepping stone. So people will do chest to wall holds, they'll do back to wall, and they'll be able to pull off using their fingertips. And then the toe pull drill, the chest to wall version, will come with time when the body allows you to do it and you've built up enough conditioning. But don't expect to do that one straight away. I mean, that's a good example is in the Wednesday night handstand class, there's probably only half the class that are capable of doing the toe pull drill. The other half can't even get into that position and do it yet because they haven't done enough work to get there yet. So it takes a while to get to that. Yeah, cartwheeling into chest to wall is a good idea. Obviously, just making sure you've got enough space around you. But if you want to get good at handstands, you really need to build that conditioning in the shoulder and just be able to walk up quite quickly. And advice on how to kick up into a handstand against the wall and find a mental block stopping me worrying about hurting myself. Yeah, look, this one's really, really common, and it happens to lots of people as well. Like I get really strong guys who you would think would be able to do anything and they wouldn't be scared of kicking up to the wall, but the body stops you from doing those things. So it's not normally a strength thing that's missing. It's normally just the body's just stopping you because it doesn't want you to hurt yourself. So the best way to do it is place the hands down on the floor, like normally 1.5 hand spaces away from the wall, shoulders on top of the hand. Pick a focal point somewhere between your fingers, glue all that into position, don't move anything. So shoulders on top, lots of weight there. And then all I'm going to do is whichever leg I feel comfortable to kick up with, I'm just going to try and touch the wall. So a lot of people do this, just try and touch the wall consistently, trying to keep the shoulders in the same place, keep the focal point the same. So if my toe is touching there, and I can do that consistently, so that's step one. Once you can do that, then all I'm going to do is do exactly the same thing, but try and raise the foot higher and higher up on the wall, and watch what happens when I do that. So if I touch, then I try and go a little bit higher, and a little bit higher again, a little bit higher again. Now look, see the second leg's naturally coming up until I can do that. So that might take you a few days, a few weeks to get up into that position. But if you just do that, focus on touching the wall with one foot and then slowly taking the foot higher and higher up on the wall, it will pull the second leg up, and that will normally get it for everyone. You just need to give it enough time. When I owned the gym, we had one lady there, and it took her over 12 months. She came to class every week. It took her over 12 months to be able to kick up to the wall. But she got it. It just took her time and time. She worked on all the other drills that she could do, but it took her much longer than everyone else. But she stuck with it and got up, and now she comfortably gets up to the wall, no problem. So I'm not ready for toe pulls. It doesn't hurt to train it. No, obviously, as long as you're not collapsing. So you don't want to be collapsing through the shoulders. So you want to always feel that you're pushing away, and your shoulder blades and stuff feel like they're pushing strong. What you don't want to do is be collapsed and be loading or arching through the back in that position. It's like going into a tuck planche position or something and being collapsed through your shoulder blades. You wouldn't want to push in this position. We always want to push in that strong position. So as long as you can get into that, and you don't feel like you're collapsing and the energy is getting stuck anywhere in your spine, then yes, you should be fine to play with it and just build the control. And then over time, you'll just be able to unlock it. I can only guess what you're saying there. I don't know can't translate it. Be good if they'd done this on the comments. Guys, any other questions before I disappear? Let's just go through, see if I missed anything. We're like 45 minutes in now. Rosie's here, if you're wondering where she is. She's over in the corner, cleaning her paws. Do you have any recommend progressions towards skin the cat? I can get to an L-sit hold area. I'm wondering where to go from there. I've got a couple of tutorials on skin the cat. Skin the cat's an awesome exercise that I recommend everyone do. And if you just go into a German hang first and then pull through, that's the easiest way of doing it. Just quickly get these down and I'll show you. So if you put these up around chest height to start with when you're learning, ideally tie the straps up as well so you're not going to strangle yourself. So and then all I do is I go into palms facing down on the rings first, go through the rings like that, turn the rings over so the palms are facing the opposite direction, walk backwards, try to get the hip up nice and high. So now I'm there. Then I just step one leg up. Look, I can pull then, and then I take one leg to the floor. So get comfortable with doing that. Once you can do that, you can play with doing the opposite. So going back over that way. Then we can start to play with straight arms. So from this position, keep the arms straight. Keep the arms straight on the way down, even if you need to use toe assist. Then if you set them up to an L-sit position on the floor, then I can bend one leg here, and then I can take that leg up, push up, go into my German hang there, and then slowly build more and more control with the straight arms. So that's a real super quick way, or a quick explanation.
But I'd recommend everyone works those drills. It's a fantastic one that carries over to multiple things. Helps planche, back lever, just straight arm pulling, straight arm pushing. It's, yeah, awesome. Mobility. Okay, guys, I'm going to sign off if there's no other questions. Give it two minutes. I've also put a community post up. I'm going to do a video where I critique videos. So if you want to send me any videos, I'll critique them in my YouTube video. So I'm doing them for free, but I'm going to put them up on a YouTube video. So you've got to be happy with them being on YouTube. So I'll critique your video, whatever skill you're working towards. I've put a community post up on, just message me or put comment in this. If you upload your video like unlisted to YouTube, or just send me a link to wherever it is, but put it in the comment of the community post, I will critique your videos for you. And it's a really good way of learning. So you can learn a lot of the time really well from not me showing you what I'm doing, but how I would coach someone else to do a skill, because you can more relate to someone working on the same thing as what you're working on. Because it's easy for me to demo the drills for a lot of these skills, same as if you work with any coach and they demonstrate something, because we can do the things. So if I demonstrate a handstand push-up drill or a press handstand drill, because I can do the skill, I can demo the drill very well. But if you can't do the skill, it's really hard to demo the skill. So not demo the skill, do the geez, I need my dinner. I'm losing my mind. So to do the drill that you're working towards, the progression, it's really hard to do it until you can do the skill, but you need to be able to do the progression. So it's a bit complicated. Brazil. So it must be Portuguese then you're talking, is it? Yeah, my Portuguese is not good. Okay, guys, I'm gonna disappear. I'm gonna sign off. If you've got any other questions, or if you're watching the recording of this, stick questions down in the comments. I try and get back to all the questions I can and reply to comments. Sometimes I don't. If I miss your comment, miss your question, and don't answer it, just stick it down on my latest video. I try and catch up as much best I can, but because I'm putting so much content out at the moment, it's hard to keep up with all the questions and comments. But I do these every Friday, not normally this late. It's normally around lunchtime, Perth, Australia time, but a little bit later today because the kids are off school and we're at the beach. So bye for now. Rosie says bye as well. And I will see you on the next one. Cheers, guys.